afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another exciting propaganda stream with me, your host, Imperial Dane, Master Propaganda Hero of Psych, Defender of the Fatherland. We're off here to an exciting 1 vs 1 on Crossroads. Between the south, we got PappyoDaniel fighting for Germany, the Wehrmacht. Fighting here for the 2nd Panzer Division versus in the north, we got Talisman fighting for America, freedom and democracy for the 3rd Armored Division. We're looking here at Lightning War, Mechanized Assault and Blitzkrieg Doctrine versus Heavy Cavalry, Tactical Support and Armor Company there for Talisman with Bullets, Infantry, Machine Guns versus Weapon Racks, Ambulances and Grenades from Talisman. We got Double Rifleman there from him versus a more standard MD42 Grenadier start there for PappyoDaniel, aiming for something more balanced but also with plenty of firepower that can be used as a personal rifle, and that way ensure the Grenadiers can actually sort of gain any ground whatsoever. Sandbags around the cutoff point in case Talisman decides to attack again, so that's going to make it easier to defend it, which is definitely going to be quite beneficial there to PappyoDaniel. Heading eastwards there towards the victory point and fuel point there. Similarly, we got Talisman heading westwards there, the rear echelons. Rather than heading eastwards, there's the Talisman spreading out a bit more, gaining more of the map, but also getting a clear idea where PappyoDaniel is aiming. 2nd Rifle Squad heading more towards the centre by the looks of it for now. And before securing points there, victory points here with the Pioneers, and the Grenadiers might just hit the fuel point as well. Back here, there might be another Grenadier, could also be another MD42 here. Either of those could be excellent choices here in the early game. MD42 is just to be able to suppress more Americans. Of course, the Grenadiers just for more rifles to push forwards with. We've got a 3rd rifle there for Talisman, though. Rather than spotting the Grenadiers opening up so far, Pappy might like to be a bit more preoccupied with what's going on the front line. To actually remember, stuff in this base that can also be done. Going for the fuel point there with the Pioneers. Could look at some sandbags around there. Up here, just continue the movement and grabbing of territory. Interesting, he whizzed away from the fuel, go straight for the munitions, not the fuel first. That's an interesting sort of capturing order there. ND4 securing the centre. We got a sniper start here for PappyoDaniel. That was also an option here. Will allow him to bleed out Talisman here in the early game if sort of utilised properly. But also risks an into problem there if Talisman pulls some aggressive flanking tactics, for example, gets behind the sniper. In that regard, a quick tag up, for example, from Lieutenant could also hurt him, because then he could follow up with an M20, which do have bonuses against the sniper there. M40 up the small house here, rather than running about here, trying to stay out of it. Got a rather rough spot there being suppressed. A few moments, there we go. Driving up closer, should be able to do a lot of damage to the M40. There you go, attack from the other side here. PappyoDaniel in this case getting slightly punished there for pushing MD4 into a position that wasn't exactly very safe, or for that matter very supportive. We got Grenadiers moving up. The problem is though, they're going to get, well, run up to the rifling where the Grenadiers or the rifling have just overall more damage up close. So yeah, that's not really the best development there. For Pappy, he's going to have to retreat before he gets wiped. Grenadiers will also need to get out of there, and there we go. Pretty harsh retreat in the early game. We got the sniper left behind covering fire. Taking care of Bob there with a shot through the skull. Down south, Pioneers grabbing the munitions point, and he's finally grabbing the fuel point up. Here's a bit different priorities here from both players. Talisman favouring munitions over fuel, and Pappy favouring fuel over munitions. And we got another Grenadier squad there for PappyoDaniel. We can see here that Talisman is following up here in the wake of that very successful engagement to quickly push into Pappy's territories and do as much damage. Of course, Pappy is hoping to bleed out Talisman in the process, using the sniper, which so far Talisman's going to have a hard time dealing with unless PappyoDaniel makes some misplays or Talisman makes an absolutely inspired move, and so far we don't think we'll be seeing that one right away. Grenadiers almost done, there we go. 2nd Grenadier squad, they're rifling under fire from snipers, MD42s and Grenadiers. That could be wipe in the early game. Notable loss there for Talisman. Notable loss. That's definitely going to give PappyoDaniel there something to bounce back with against Talisman, even if he lost most of the map there. The loss of the rifle squad will make it harder for Talisman to maintain map control there versus Pappy. And we got the Lieutenant out there, though. More firepower and freedom. Full up there with the M20 utility car. Sniper heading eastwards, they're supported by Grenadiers MD42. Rather than matching them in a fire racing versus Pioneers. Quick loss there. So far we got 5 kills in the start. We got races there versus the Pioneers. In the east, rather than forced away as well. PappyoDaniel striking back here for the 2nd Panzer Division, also known as the Vienna Division, since they were at least originally recruited in Vienna, which is rather how the German recruitment system ran. It's sort of recruited from certain areas or towns, for example. So a little fun fact there. Point there secured, point there being secured. They did it in part because it ensured greater cohesion when people were from the same area within the division, and Germans rather favoured cohesion. That's a sort of little fun detail there. M20 moving about though. Grenadiers falling back. We got Light to make a nice company up here for Pappy. We got the M20 there running straight into the MD42. Finding away the 50 cal there, the flank of the MD42 there. PappyoDaniel so far not reacting to that very much. The Ludwig is, as his body suddenly fails him. Lieutenant flanking from the other side, there we go. Nice attack here by Talisman, catching PappyoDaniel in a very unfavorable position. Looks like he's going to try and panzer-fast the M20, but he very much risks taking a lot of damage. Moving forward to retreat, going to do sniper with the covering. And there you go, pushing back the Lieutenant with some casualties. Following up there with the 222 lighted punch spearwagon. M20 falling back there, and we got, well, still some time there before the 222 is ready. We got a mine here, though. Very good spot there, though. Very good spot. No real good job activating use of the mines. So many players neglect using the M20 to lay down mines, and they are quite potent. They're basically teller mines that can immobilize an attack, for example, entirely, which is quite potent. I mean, any tank that can't move is a very easy target. In particular, you can say immobilize a Panther or a King Tiger. You've got yourself a very good deal. And of course, the Germans got themselves a very bad day ahead of them. Rifleman out in the open again, need to be careful of that. We got the 2 striking in there with its autocannon, action machine gun. Rifleman sent running. Run, Carl! It's an armored car! You should consider maybe some more mines around here, so that way, you know, make it harder for Pappy to move about his vehicle. Of course, if he hits that, that's going to be a good night for the 222. And it is nearby supporting. Well, we had to take up there. Obviously, the question is what comes next. Another 222. Pantsing on the DS, Pack 40. Bazooka fire there, though, from Liku. Actually pops him in, keeping the reactions nearby in case, but in this case, quickly pops him back into the arm. There. A nice little maneuver there by Talisman. A nice, sharp little maneuver. Definitely not something you see very every day. Sniper continuing to fight, supporting fire there. Here, troops reinforcing, healing. As for those wondering why didn't the Americans have snipers, well, they didn't actually train them in the war. They had marksmen, but they didn't actually train snipers. That's actually one of the reasons, in fact. The Brits had snipers, the Canadians had snipers, the Russians had snipers, the Germans had snipers, but the Americans did not have snipers. That's a sort of little fun fact there. Trinity there firing away, halfway to Veterans you want. Captain out there for Talisman, troops reinforcing here. Could do with an ambulance there for a bit of healing. Going for the fuel point there. Kind of these holding up those riflemen. We got the ambulance there. Action on the way now for Talisman. We got a bunker up there for PappyoDaniel in the second punch to be short. A lot of harassment there against the fuel point by Talisman. That's a real good play there. Good play. Got some hits in the sniper, but not quite enough there. In this case, was close to getting sort of hunted down there by the 222. Ambulance almost done. And they're fighting with a light machine gun firing there from one of the windows. Come on, Ludwig. Keeps ammunition coming. Otherwise, the Americans will get us. Bad position in negative cover. That basically means they get more damage overall from the Germans here. Got some very, very, very light cover, I think, due to the elevation of the terrain there. You can't really see what would give them light cover here, but there's basically sort of a slight ditch here, if you will, that sort of gives a bit of light cover there. Slight ditch. But again, not very visible and not very sort of particularly clear that there's a ditch there which the men can benefit from. Which also makes it stand out compared to this point, which has no such feature. MD42, the Veterans 1 there, against the captain there, sniper supporting. Veterans 1, 10 kills, we got the A50 car firing at the Grenadiers there back here. We got the Pack 40 for PappyoDaniel. The Panzer up back in 140. Up here, troops healing, reinforcing, and here we got the point there being secured. Slow pushing on, troops are going after the M20, getting off some good hits with its auto cannon. Rushing for the house with the MD42, needs to be a bit careful about that. Back here, is he planning on taking up something, or is there something else going on there for PappyoDaniel with the Pioneers? You turn there, taking heavy fire to the 2 waiting repairs. Supporting while they're being repaired by the Pioneers. Bit of a tricky setup there by Pappy. It looks like he's actually pulling it off there. He's basically getting repaired while the troops are in cover. Essentially ensuring he can fix it and do damage. But there you go. Another hit here by the fuel point. Good move there by Talisman again. Not getting too focused in the centre flank. So constantly trying to strike for the fuel and slow down PappyoDaniel. Keeping on the defensive, preventing, Pappy from, doing the same thing to Talisman. Hitting his fuel. Harassing him, denying him resources. So good work there by Talisman. Sniper here, though, getting up some kills to the rifleman. Grenadiers ready to push in as soon as the riflemen sort of have been culled sufficiently. Stood on the way there for Talisman, so it's gone for the captain here, El Capitan. Following up with the Stuart light tank, so he's going to have both an M20 and a Stuart. That's a bit of a rare sight there. Mine spotted. Talisman, by the way, floating a ton of ammunition. He's got 300 already. He could easily lay down some more mines or gone for weapon racks or grenades. I mean, some smoke, for example, could do him a lot of good. More grenadiers there for Pappy. No panzer grenadiers in. These rather pushed back by the 2-2 and a lot of German infantry. M51 there arriving for Talisman. And the 3rd Armoured Division going there for the points. No doctoral choices though from either player. And there you go, straight into the armor pistol rounds there. Pack 40 gets a good hit as well. There's needs to count for the Stuart, but there you go. We'll see that Pappy in this case basically just bails out. Not wishing to risk his veteran machine gun crew, which is an understandable reason. There you go, we got S-mounts around the fuel point. Good work there. We can see PappyoDaniel so far is actually mining up a bit as well. He could also consider some tiller mines around here or here would be a good spot. Rapidly turning eastwards, still no sign of upgrades though for Pappy, but there you go, weapon racks on the way, and they are of course slightly cheaper thanks to the bulletin there. Not a lot, basically a bit of man-pound fuel, and it's just basically a bulletin he's carrying for just a one-time thing, which is always the sort of bulletins I always find a bit more sort of the iffiest, because, I mean, you know, you're not going to get that much out in the longer run, whereas compared to this one, which is, you know, repeat usage, I mean, you know, all the grenades will be cheaper, not a lot, but they will still be cheaper, so in the longer run, you will be saving, you know, notably more resources from it, though, compared to just this one, which is a one-time thing. So that's a little fun detail there. Captain Ruffin hanging about here in the east. Lieutenant there supported by the M20, pushing away the Pioneers there. Almost got him. Back here, do we have take-up? Yes, indeed, we have take-up there for PappyoDaniel and the 2nd Panzer Division. These as the captain. And east, there we go, we got the Lieutenant forced away.
Now equipped to lay mines, sandbags, and build fighting
also, a fun fact about the 2nd Panzer Division in Normandy, when the Allies struck, it had actually been ordered to hand over its Panthers to the 21st Panzer Division, which didn't have any Panthers at all. In return, it received a Panther battalion from the 116th Panzer Battalion. If you think that sounds a bit weird, well, it was actually surprisingly common in some cases with Panther battalions to just switch to wherever they were needed or felt they were needed, usually tried to give a division which was deemed more necessary to have them, or just somewhere else. For example, in Italy, when, you know, a Panzer actually received a full battalion of Panthers, I think 1943, it was immediately seized upon by the Corps commander to form up a Corps reserve, sort of far away from anything, because, you know, if you get these are really vital, and then they barely saw any usage in that regard, or at least never sort of any critical usage. That's basically how those things sort of go there with the Panthers. So a little fun fact there. Rather getting blasted with that machine gun and rifle fire there. In the centre, Pack 40 supporting him before can leave his Stuart there, taking a few hits but overall surviving. M20 covering the east. He's been actually able to keep it alive for quite a bit of time then when you consider things. I think most American players would have lost it by now. And left it nothing but, you know, burning trash. Take up there for Talisman. No, he could have used the captain to speed that up, though he could also use the captain to speed up the Sherman soon enough. So many people neglect using the captains to really supervise stuff, and again, that's really something that just allows them to boost stuff through. So, I mean, that is something I think that Talisman should consider. I mean, in particular, if you just rush out a Sherman, that I think would be quite nasty versus Pappy, who's in the tank department, certainly going to be behind that. That will definitely force him to go for the Stug 3G, so to have a chance of dealing with that. And the West they can at least countered here by the Stuart, with its 37mm gun and its coaxial machine gun. I think that one had a hull machine gun. Though they did normally, I believe, carry Penthamite in 30 calibers on top. Little fun fact there. Sitting there getting blasted by MD-42 Sniper fire, storming up there against the Grenadiers here in the west halfway to Veteran 3 and the Grenadiers. And at the same time, a bit of fighting in the east. We've got the 2-2, that's the reactions crashing through the minefield there, at least mostly ignoring it. It's the 2-2 that's basically setting off the mines. That way, doing damage to them. Up close and personal, the reactions are suddenly reminded they've got elsewhere to do. Yeah, it's not like, you know, you got more guns, it's, you know, our mother's call. Yeah, our mother's. Right, the cap moving up, then getting the Pioneer Sniper there supporting. Closing in eventually 3, they've definitely done a lot of damage there to Pappy, doing quite a good, oh, not Pappy, Talisman, damn it. He's done a good job for Pappy, but a terrible job to Talisman. Panzer Grenadiers are arriving here for PappyoDaniel, though, some hardened German Panzer Grenadiers.
Are securing our territory.
Rather than out in the open versus the double grenadiers there. This is again where grenades would help because you smoke them, for example. That would pretty much be difficult for the grenadiers to engage them, plus but also made it difficult for the sniper to support them, though the sniper, he's still there. Stewart hanging about here, rifleman about here. He's gone for Doctor, but it's heavy cavalry, so one thing I think he should consider is some mines. Also noting he's finally gone for some BARs. He's not upgraded, I believe, the echelon, so he could easily throw more Browning automatics to them, or bazooka, and similarly he could also upgrade the captain and the lieutenant. I mean, a lot of players tend to neglect upgrading the officers, though you will see some players who increasingly also actually just upgrading the captain with the BARs, ignoring bazookas, which actually makes the captain a pretty good anti-infantry unit. But pushing to them with Panzerjägers overall, though Talisman has still got Pappy on the defensive, though Pappy is doing what he can there to bleed out Talisman. We got an artillery strike in here from the Major, trying to hit his position here. Out of fire, landing down. We got the resistance again, pushing for the fuel. Again, being countered there by the 2-2. Weissman's going off. We got the Stewart there sneaking up behind. Oh! Almost got the sniper there, almost. In this case, quickly breaks off again. Hit and run, good move. Pappy could now go for the Stewart, but of course, he could also wait for the Panzer. Talisman, on the other hand, has got plenty of resources. He's not really utilising them for a quick tank. Again, he could easily have rushed out a Sherman at this point, or a Scott or two. So I do think that's a bit of an odd move there by Talisman, and a bit of a mistake. Again, when you can, rush out medium tanks against your opponent really, really fast, you should probably aim to do so. At least that'd be my opinion. And there you go. He's got the perfect tool in the captain. To further emphasise him. Meanwhile, though, we got to push here for the car point by Pappy. Grenadiers, Panzer Grenadiers hit with under fire for the Stewart. Leading out a bit, though, as he's going on the defensive there for once against Talisman. The 2nd Panzer Division mastering the strength for an assault. And not just sitting back there on the defensive all the time. Pack 40 being recruited. Lieutenant doing what damage he can there. For America and freedom. Start moving up, the 29 kills closing on about 2-3, 2-2 there, very close to 2-3. And we got units there setting out. Still no sign of any tanks here though for Talisman. No sign of any tanks. Again, at this point he could easily have a tank out ages ago. And at this point, he could have had 2 Shermans out. At least fuel-wise, he could easily have 2 Shermans by now. I mean, there's definitely some room for improvement there. I mean, all he's doing is now basically giving PappyoDaniel more time to, actually bring up something to help keep, the American tanks in check. So, not really that good for Talisman. He's finally bringing up the Sherman. Will he use the captain though to supervise? Nope. Again, otherwise he could just rush out the Sherman really fast. In the fire here, the head-on assault. No smoke screens, no nothing, so it means it's going to be an easy target for MG42s and snipers. Not really the elements of a best assault there. Indeed, suffering quite neatly there, I think. In these, we've got riflemen going for the eastern fuel point, striking again. The good work, though, for Talisman, just denying his opponent as much fuel as possible. The problem is, though, he's not taking advantage of it, again, by rushing out as many tanks as fast as possible. So in that regard, while he's doing some good there, he's not quite following up for the second half, which is, fast tanks. Going there for the 2-2 with the Stewart. Almost got it. There we go, might get Panther fasted, but then again the 2-2 could provide cover. Nope. They see it and they Panther fasted. At the same time, got the M-Trend rushing in there, and Vetri 2 got the sniper. Finally, vengeance for all the good American souls lost to that bastard. M20 though escapes to tell the tale. For now. Not it is they're firing with a light machine gun. And there he goes, finally research grenades, he's laying down the smoke screen, he's got the Sherman, moving that ahead, high explosives, 50 caliber on the way, finally got a Panther on the way though, so again we can sort of see there, a bit of the problem with Talisman's delay there. By the time he finally has the Sherman out, his opponent can soon fill up with a tank, despite not having resources. He's had the Sherman out much sooner before that, and could have another Sherman out by now. So, in that regard, timing-wise, Talisman could improve, I would say, sharpen up, if you will. In particular, considering he actually went for all 3 tiers and still had a huge fuel advantage. I mean, this is nonetheless a bit of a gap and a lot of opportunities given to his opponent. I mean, again, he's got the captain. The captain is like, just super good in that department. You can just, speed out those tanks in a matter of seconds rather than minutes. So again, he might just have given PappyoDaniel the tools to actually give Talisman here a beating with. We'll have to see, of course. I mean, Talisman still got a violent grip here on the map. He's definitely not letting go against PappyoDaniel, but now PappyoDaniel has been able to bring a Panzer IV to the front line, the workhorse of the German Panzerwaffe, and the most produced armoured fighting vehicle in the German, well, second most actually. Most produced Panzer, but second most produced armoured vehicle. In fact, the number of Panzer IVs, I think the difference between most produced, well, the most produced, which was the Stug, was like 100. At least we're talking the hundreds there, and the low hundreds, not high hundreds. So while the Stug was the most produced armoured fighting vehicle, the Panzer IV was a strong contender for the second one there. Dealing here with the lieutenant up close. We've got the Sherman moving in there. High explosives armor piercing rounds that climb through the side of the Panzer IV. Panzer IV shoots, misses. Captain charging through. Good use of smoke there, by the way. Good use of smoke there by Talisman, I believe it was. I hope it was. Could also use the Sherman volley to lay down smoke. Showing the fact is a surprisingly effective smoke deployer there. I mean, it does cost 30 munitions, but it's a very fast reacting smoke mortar, essentially, you get to fire with. Plus, you can do it on the move. Troops are healing, reinforcing. We've got this M20 striking into the base here of Pappy very aggressively, very boldly. Panzer IV's going to need some repairs there. Unless they're getting blasted by the 50 cal up close, and there you go. Panzer Faust is stuck inside the German base. He might just not make it out of that one alive. We got Pioneers on the way there for Pappy. Near Pioniere. Sherman under fire here, taking a direct hit from the Pak 40. 360mm or so of somewhat sloped armor. It wasn't actually too sloped armor of the Sherman. It wasn't a heavy slope, so it wasn't that effective. I mean, essentially two things that determine the effectiveness of sloped armor was how sloped it was and how thick the armor was before it was sloped.
We're losing a capture point.
MD-42, veteranly free hardened machine gun crew. Tying into those riflemen here in the west, we got the Sherman versus the Panzer IV. Panzer IV quickly forced to back off there against the Sherman. Talisman here is clearly, I think, at this point they're aiming for a Pershing, and of course that might be the reason, why again didn't go for a second Sherman. But even then, you could easily have the first Sherman out a lot sooner versus Pappy. So even if the Pershing, was the idea, I think in terms of just timing there's a lot of room there to improve for Talisman. But it's time here for the mid-game analysis. Damage-wise, Pappy's hit, kills-wise is altered again. I mean, Talisman's been having such map control there again. If you hold more ground and try to defend, obviously you're going to suffer more. He's also been a lot more aggressive. So in that regard, losing more does make sense. He's also the one with more vehicles and armor ups. In that regard, more damage also makes sense. But at the same time, just map-wise, he's been a lot more in control. Army value-wise, also Talisman is far ahead there. He's just had so many more resources than PappyoDaniel. Resource float-wise, we can see that even then he's still floating a ton, which is actually not good. And again, the main issue is the munitions in part. Points out again, he's also very much in control. So again, while this, might seem, oh hey, Pappy's winning. If we look at the rest, though, it's clearly not quite that straightforward of a story. And at the same time, he's finally gone for a doctrine. But the thing is, he hasn't really utilised it a lot. I mean, there's been the ranges, maybe a bit of smoke, but there's also certainly been no sandbags or mines. And that's definitely something you should have had sooner up. Again, if you got an advantage, try to build into it. I mean, just good out a fast tank, but lay down mines, sandbags, finding positions, whatever you can do to make it harder for your opponent to push back. And that's basically one of the things Talisman's lacking right now. So I would certainly suggest him to begin laying down mines. For example, around here where there's not so much fighting at the moment, you slow down the Germans if they try to push forward. Maybe a fighting position, after once you got the Pershing there, and also some mines in the east. The more mines you can get down, the better. And you should also certainly consider trying to, use the combined arms, so that way boost the fighting power of his infantry and his tanks together, because it really gives you a big boost. I mean, for tanks, for example, 25% increase range, and I think almost 20 or 25% increase in rate of fire as well, which really means it just becomes really, really mean. So that's also something I think Talisman should consider. But otherwise, more flanks, try not to get too caught up. Again, tries to bash his head through the center, trying to hit flank, trying to get behind PappyoDaniel, cut off escape routes and do a lot of damage, secure territory, and then fortify it with mines and whatever else he can get his hands on, making it harder for PappyoDaniel to take it back. If Talisman can do that, he should probably have a good chance of winning. But if again, he sort of keeps not quite making full effective use of his resources, keeps not fortifying the territory, I mean, PappyoDaniel here should have a good chance of actually beating his opponent. As for PappyoDaniel, well, he needs pressure, needs to flank more. His opponent's been too just head on there, too put on the defense. We need to try and outmaneuver his opponent, catch him off with some bad spots and do some damage. More mines, so would also be good. At least he's using mines more, I would say, than Talisman. So that is good there. More armor. I would certainly suggest a Stug there to support his Panzer IV. Bit more rate of fire and range there could certainly do a lot there for PappyoDaniel. That way, minimize the numerical armor advantage Talisman could certainly very well have. Also, some more regular Panzer Grenadiers I think would be a good choice for Talisman or Pappy to that way push forward as well against the Americans. Beyond that, not so much to say, so let's return to the fight and get back to the action. Quick grenade there against the Krauts.
The enemy is overrunning one of our capture points.
Need to fix up that Panzer one there. Goes Sherman there firing away, gaining veteran 2-1 already. Can't really take advantage of it since it requires to be close to another vehicle for it to trigger. But then it gains more line of sight and more rate of fire. MD-42 they're firing at the Sherman, but you think they're going to use Panzer IV, they're trying its gun against the Sherman. Duke being pinned down there by heavy machine gun fire. We got a second MD-42 bullet here for PappyoDaniel to help contain Talisman's vast infantry forces. Not a bad idea at all. And Talisman is just saving up for the M26 Pershing heavy tank here. Pearson's under fire there. Panzer is moving out. Panzer IV almost done. Pioneers under fire there from the Sherman. Pearson pushed away. Captain firing away there as well. Panzer IV rolls ahead halfway to Veterancy 1 and the Blitzkrieg. Panzerjäger's moving up here, Grenadiers hanging about nearby as well. Got the captain running. Pack 40 is pointing at the Panzer IV as well because he's really now going in against Talisman. It's getting ready to push for the car point, I think. There's just one problem here for Pappy, and of course it doesn't know it, but there's going to be a Pershing hitting him right about now. And there you go, the M26 Pershing heavy tank rolls out for America and freedom. Panzer IV and the Lieutenant who hits Veteran Fleet Grenadiers, Panzerjägers out in the open. Need to be careful there. Pershing gets a good hit against the Panzer IV with its 90mm gun. Pack 40 gets a good hit as well. Veteran 2 there. It's going to have to flank about the German position. The head-on assault there. It's going to be a very bad idea there for Talisman. If we can sneak in some into and then pop up combined arms, it could do a lot of damage very quickly, I think, there to PappyoDaniel. He could of course also try and attack through here instead. We'll have to see what Talisman does here versus PappyoDaniel, and PappyoDaniel could certainly consider laying down mines. Again, he's got a nice chunk of the map now. Telemines, S-mines, but again, everything he can do to make it harder for Talisman to get back on the field would be pretty good there for Pappy and the 2nd Panzer Division. Straight to the MD-42 here. Grenadiers, Panzerjägers nearby. In these, we've got the Major pushing up there, and Pappy so far doesn't quite seem to give her down. We got the MD-42 that covering the eastern fuel and victory point. Smoke screen here probably should have popped one sooner, a bit more preemptively. It seems like that was more of a reactive one. Oh, Major wiped here by the Panzer IV, the Grenadiers. Sherman sits out in the west here. Pershing moves up, shoots at the Panzer Grenadiers. Rifle firing in there, go. Jaegers wiped. Panzerjäger left behind. Grenadiers could be the next target. And Pershing shoots, wiped. That is 2 squads gone in a matter of seconds here for PappyoDaniel. It's quickly turning up here. And the Grenadiers there. Oh dear, he wipes them as well. That is 3 squads gone in a matter of minutes here. Talisman is a monster. At the same time, going in for the Pioneers with the Shermans, hoping to add a 4th squad to his tally. We got a Stug down the way for PappyoDaniel and the 2nd Panzer Division. Versus the Pershing, I think it's definitely going to be a very good idea. Increased penetration and rate of fire compared to the Panzer IV, plus of course range. Doesn't hurt it. No, he cancels the Stug for a Panzer IV. He's actually going for double Stugs again, or Panzer IVs against this. I mean, the Panzer IV can be an effective armoured fighting vehicle. It's just, I'm not really sure that's what he wants right now. Smokescreen there around the packs. Good work there. Pershing the blitzes right past the packs, going right behind into the German rear areas. And certainly if he can get away that scrape, the problem is if he gets caught there, they could end up losing the Pershing, even handing it over there to PappyoDaniel, which would be a pretty bad day for Talisman. There you go, Panzer IV down, Pack 40 shoots. We've got a smoke screen down here to cover up the retreat of the Pershing. Not bad there. Panzer IV almost down there for PappyoDaniel and the 2nd Panzer Division.
The enemy is overrunning one of our capture points.
Need to get the Pershing out of there. No, don't stop up! Don't stop up! At the same time, fighting here, troops healing, reinforcing, moving out there for American freedom. And there we go. Back 40 setting up, fighting each other of the Pershing there. Panzer IV engaging from the front, shoots, misses, blocks the path here of the Pershing line. The Pack 40's more chance to shoot. Do you have any targeting points there? No, but there he goes. Several penetrating hits on the Pershing. He's desperately trying to get out there. We've got the Pack 40's in the hunt. He needs to get the Pershing out there. The problem is he was too slow getting out of there. And there we go. Wiped. Bit of a tactical judgment of error there. I think mistake there by Talisman, losing his Pershing there. 2 packs and Panzer IVs behind enemy lines. And we got air support calling in PappyoDaniel. Struger close air support. The problem is there's not really anything for them to shoot at. Basically what he's doing there is just cutting off the air, making it harder there for Talisman to move what armor he's got left. So rather than actually destroy something, he's just trying to prevent Talisman from getting back on the field with any armor too fast. That way giving him more time to, you know, stabilize and get ready for another push here. Going there for the fuel. We got a smokescreen down there though. Nice prediction in this case though. Wasn't quite correct though. He wasn't quite expecting the Panzer IV thing to hit from that angle, and that results in a full wipe there. Almost a full wipe there for the Panzer IV, but at least a full retreat. Air support almost done there. Kanon and Vogel will retreat moments later. Mines down finally. We got a fresh Panzer Grenadier squad here for PappyoDaniel. We got a pineapple grenade there against the Panzer Grenadiers. We got the Schoenhill flank behind the Panzer IV. Gets a good hit. Almost 52. Almost 52. And there we go. Veteran 2 on the Sherman. Veteran 2. Healing reinforcing. Troops healing reinforcing here. No Rangers here for Talisman. I think he might actually end up going for another Pershing. He's close to having it resource wise. And there you go, the MD-40's in a lot of trouble. Heavy fire up close, and that could very likely be a wipe, unless he gets super lucky, which actually looks like he's doing, the lucky bastard. Oh, we actually got combined arms. We got it. The problem is he's got his Sherman there far away there, and he's not got it close to the infantry. So while it's great he's using combined arms, I mean, it's absolutely outstanding, he needs to work a bit on it. But again, it's great someone's actually trying to use it. It's definitely, I think, a slightly tricky ability if you sort of don't know how to use it. But again, keep your tanks and together, and they both get a boost. Again, tanks, range, and rate of fire for infantry. I think it's and line of sight, I believe. For infantry, it's just rate of fire, I believe. But still, that's a pretty hefty bonus there. Particularly for the tanks, that can make them a lot more lethal. In this case, still didn't quite work out. The troops got caught with him before two. That Sherman came under fire. Another Panzer IV there for PappyoDaniel. Whereas Talisman's getting very close to the Pershing. But, you know, it's great he's trying to use it. I mean, so many players don't even bother using it, so even a failed usage of it is something that stands out, to be honest, because I still think it's a great ability. It's just more people need to get around to using it more. Now, assume we got the Pershing there. Noting, by the way, it is Blitzkrieg here that PappyoDaniel has chosen. The smoke, tactical movement, the reconnaissance overflight, and the command tank. Besides there, the Kanon and Vogel overflight there. Pioneers almost wiped the rifle, got more pushing forward here. Panzer IV, those providing current 5, Veterans who 1, 6 kills for the fatherland. Panzer Grenadiers setting out as well here. MB4 trimming out, Veterans who 3, 11 kills. And there you go. Grenadiers lose 1 man, drop the light machine, get hit by mine of wipe there again for PappyoDaniel and the 2nd Panzer Division. And there you go, Pershing out here for Talisman and the 3rd Armoured. The M26 Pershing. There also exists a single one which fought in the Western Theatre, which was known as the Super Pershing, which had an even bigger gun, and also a lot of armour bolted on just to make it tougher. Right near, they're about to get crushed by the Panzer IV. Smoke's been down here, Pershing on a hunt for the Panzer IV. Needs to be careful, he doesn't have losing the Pershing like he did the first one. Eventually 3-pack void turning out, that's definitely a big threat. They're high rate of fire and high penetration. Panzer IV halfway to 53, we've got the Sherman moving in, they're going straight for the Pack 40 there. 50 cals firing in, then 19 kills for American Freedom. House collapses as high explosive shells goes through it. MD4 they're wiped by the Pershing. Bit of a loss there for PappyoDaniel. Needs to be careful, he does no extend. and take any needless losses to Talisman. Going for the car point again, the Panthers here, in this case rebuffed by Rifleman standing ready. Needs to grab back the eastern fuel point again for the fatherland to Panther 4, covering up the treaty of the Pat 40s. And the Panther Grenadiers Pioneers moving up to fix the Panther 4 and get it into working order once more. Another MD-42 there for Pappy. Talisman is yet to seize upon the opportunity there of an MD-42 to help keep the German infantry and support weapons back a bit further. Paying the Panther 4 there. And we got air reconnaissance there from PappyoDaniel. While this in-game is a Stuka that's doing it, generally they'd use a smaller sort of lower hanging aircraft known as the Fiesler Stork, which was also used for sort of just moving officers around on the battlefield to get to different points. For example, almost got the rifleman there. Dropping under fire there. Engage with the Panther 4 there, staying at maximum range. There's not really a lot of cover here. You should probably consider laying down the smoke screen here to make it harder for the Panther 4 to hit them. Pershing them moving up, gets a good hit of its 90mm gun, penetrates the frontal armor, and we got, looks like a flank system set up here by the lieutenant. Sounds like something went down.
Button her up. Big push coming.
Yup, shut down there by the 50 caliber, mounted on the Sherman. Which is very much the purpose of these mounted machine guns. They're generally meant for sort of defending against aircraft with. Panther 4 heading eastward, supported by the other Panther 4. Working them together, that is good. Similarly, we can see that Talisman's giving his tanks again. There you go with this. Pershing close to the Sherman. He gets his radio net bonus on the Sherman, meaning he does a higher rate of fire. Rather than engage with both Panther 4s, almost wiped there. Pretty bad news there if they had been wiped. Victory points wise. It's a bit of a lead there now for PappyoDaniel over Talisman. And here in the south, we got Lieutenant trying the flank, but in this case too late. Panzer's there catching them instead. We got between 3 Pat 40 to the target weak point. Percy's just beyond range. Panther 4 takes hits here. If he were to pop combined arms, you could probably get off some faster shots overall with more range. Panther 4 there again, threat to 2 shots and added. Bounces off the frontal armor there of the Sherman though. Pat Sherman on there has no issues. We've got smoke down in the centre. Percy pushes through, but still needs to be careful. There are Pack 40s there with the Panther 4 in support. Another shot 5, rather than under 5 from the Panther 4, gaining veterancy 1 as well. Grenades being lobbed at the Pack 40 and almost got it, but not quite. Panthers still suffering from the grenades. Sherman moves ahead, takes a penetrating for the Panther 4, and then bounces its own shot off the Panther 4's frontal armor. We've got a command tank out here for PappyoDaniel. Befehls Panzerwagen to support the Panthers and the infantry. Captain blitzes down the west side. The MD-42 crewed here by, looks like the rest of his men there, covering the western fuel point. Pioneers, they're getting massacred by the Pershing, but the Pack 40 gets an avenging shot back at it. Second shot that misses. Overall, though, Pappy has sort of managed to turn the game around quite nicely. Again, I do think one of the issues here for Talisman is basically less efficient resource usage. And PappyoDaniel, of course, has been having absolutely in accordance with that, just getting up Panther 4 after Panther 4. I do think some Stools could have benefited him here, but in the end, he does seem to be playing his Panther 4s quite nicely overall, meaning, well, he's getting some good usage out of them. In particular, he's actually gaining some veterancy on them, which is really where the Panther 4s get good. Craft Never's MD-42 getting splattered up close and annihilated. Though definitely needs to repair them, fix that. We'd be ashamed to lose such veteran Panzer crews. And of course, an always fun fact about the Panzer 4 is that with armoured skirts on, it's actually commonly mistaken for a Tiger tank due to the basic fact that it gave it a much bigger silhouette. So there are many cases where, they report knocking out a Tiger, but they most likely just knocked out a Panzer 4. Air reconnaissance again. We can see that PappyoDaniel is very fond of air reconnaissance. That way, getting a good idea what Talisman is up to and planning. Very nice work there. We've got a Jackson arriving here though for Talisman. Aircraft shot down again pretty quickly by the Sherman here, which is very close to fetching the fleet. So that's another loss to the Luftwaffe, landing right behind the base. Fixing up the Panzers. Could do with some extra infantry to support the Panzers. We'll have to see what Talisman does. But he's clearly not perturbed by the fact that, well, Pappy now pretty much knows how his forces are set up. There you go, M36 Jackson out there for Talisman, based on the Sherman chassis as a fun fact. Same as with the M10 Wolverine. Just a bigger gun. Same as on the Pershing actually. Both a 90mm gun there, but there you go, going on a hunt here. Panther 4 slightly rolling back. Bringing it for the Lieutenant, who's probably going to get himself killed at this rate. But there you go, takes it from the Jackson, finding in the centre. Sherman flanks in. He could try and fend out in the smoke screen, know what they got in front, but still also smoke screen right into the centre of here. Could cause confusion for PappyoDaniel, making it hard for him to aim his Pack 40s, for example, but in this case, still not quite there. Pershing is hanging up, moving up through the centre now. Panther 4 dealing with rifle in the east. Lieutenant did not make it, but he did get thrashed. Sherman still slowly flanking, taking hits from the Panther 4. He's got the Pack 40, which has been recruited. Moving up towards, he's going for the Panther 4. He's going to get it, he's going to get it. Veteran to one of the Pershing. Jackson following up here. Sherman, main gun now. Panther 4 down though. Abandoned even. Abandoned. Stug on the way there for PappyoDaniel. Sturmgeschütz. Panther 4 left a burning wreck of Krupp steel. There you go, comes under fire from the Pack 40s, in this case too slow there, in which case PappyoDaniel had plenty of time to reverse his anti-tank gun position to, well, deflect the armoured assault. And there you go straight for the Jackson while the Pershing is occupied elsewhere. As nice move there, nice opportunity there, taken by PappyoDaniel, punishing Talisman for leaving his Jackson in a pretty exposed position. Almost got this too, ready, Pack 40 fires, close to 22 there, he cancels it for another Panther 4. What do you have against Stoogs, PappyoDaniel? What do you have against Stoogs? So I suppose the other argument could be he just really, really likes Panther 4s, which, you know, that's fair, that's fair. It might not quite be as flashy as the other medium tanks in game, but, I mean, it works, and particularly with some veterans, it works reasonably well.
The enemy is taking our territory.
Cap moving up for the centre. Enemy to kind of fire from the Gefährts Panzerwagen with its low velocity 75mm gun. Grenade up against the Pioneers. Bazooka fire there against the Panzer 4 needs to pull back. But schnell. Even if it does make it hard to be killed over the Bazookas with the G2, it still shouldn't be risking it. We got the Panzer 4 there for Pappy. Sherman flanks in again, it's Betsy 3 now, it is pretty much an ace. Straight into the Pack 40 though, less ace. Should have tried a deeper flank, but there you go, we got a Panther 4 nearby. He's now trying it, in this case he might actually just be setting up in a pretty bad position. He now needs to get the Sherman away though. It is Betsy 3, we got a smoke screen down here. Interesting, interesting, definitely not bad. Definitely prevents safely moved up the Pack 40 there to cover the retreat of the Sherman. They can't shoot at him easily, so good move there. More smoke here from Talisman. As the game's sort of wearing on, he perhaps realises that, you know, smoke's a pretty good thing. Almost got the command tank there. Almost 52 on it. In the east there we got moved for the victory point. It's pretty low. MD42 cleared out by the way. Quite a loss there for Pappy. Look straight up here again. Close again on Veteran T2. Second Pack 40 there moves and gets a shot there for the frontal arm of the Pershing. Second one sitting up there as well now with heat rounds. Rapid advancing here. PappyoDaniel back on the defensive. Pushing back with the Panther 4s though. Fervently for the fatherland. Pack 40 there, wipe, not good. And go grenade against the Pioneers. Oh! Almost got a full squad wipe there. That would have been pretty bad for PappyoDaniel. And victory points was all three now under control there of Talisman.
We are losing a sector.
And the 3rd Armored Division. Panthers there need repairs. Troops getting reinforced and healed. Sherman hanging back there with 25 kills. And 2nd Jackson almost done there for Talisman. Another tank destroyer.
Freshwater crew has arrived.
Mortar crew out there for Pappy. Troops seeing reinforcing. So he calls in a bit of light artillery for now. Could help versus some of the elements there.
Ready for orders.
Merchant Panzer Force sets out again with its Schutzen. And we actually got again another bout of combined arms from Talisman. In this case, he actually works together with the infantry. Good, good. Again, no, high rate of fire there on the Pershing, plus range. Makes it a lot more nasty. Overall, it makes the infantry working with it more nasty. But in this case, not really a lot for the infantry to deal with. He's still got the bonus there. He hasn't liked shooting infantry, but there you go. Turns, shoots, gets a good hit. They still need to keep it close to the infantry. He's moving away from it though. There you go. Good range, good rate of fire. Just pounces, Sherman flanks in, but without infantry support, it hasn't quite the strength there. Garter's Panzer 4 though. Garter Panzer 4, but he's up against the command chain though. Attack to get a penetrating hit. Pershing can use repairs at least to push forward to support. Going to be close here. There we go, right in front of the Pershing. Bazooka fire as well. Takes the Panzer 4 down to less than half health, splitting up for the Sherman. Pretty risky maneuver there. In this case, realises he needs to pull back. Jackson fires. You got GG there, game over. PappyoDaniel gives up a violent fight between these two players. Overall, though, PappyoDaniel was very much in the defensive in the early game. I think the sniper there rather forced him in the defense, but he had more machine guns. He could have contained Talisman infantry much better, and I think overall make better ground. I think he would also benefit more from more infantry in the longer run. More Pentagon there specifically, and well, maybe some mines here and there. But also he should have gone for some Stoogs. I mean, the Stoogs really would have given him more push versus the enemy armor. Higher rate of fire, penetration, range, all of that would have been much greater versus all those Shermans and Pershings. Rather, again, bit too many Panzer IV, I feel like, could also try to flank more in that regard. PappyoDaniel wasn't a great flanker compared to Talisman, who certainly did his best to flank and cause trouble. Occasionally, though, Talisman would overextend, but in the longer run, it did work out for him quite nicely. Also, decent ability usage. I mean, it's great he actually tried to use combined arms. The first one was a bit of a flop, but the second one actually had some impact there, I feel. So, I mean, that was great as well there. He could have used the Doctor more, though he could definitely benefit more from mines early on. I think that was one of his bigger mistakes there. But overall, I mean, nice play there by Talisman. Made use of smoke, he made use of combined arms. There was flanking going on. He used all tech, machine guns, grenades. I mean, overall, well played there by Talisman, really. But also well played by Pappy, just not well enough. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed this match. I hope you learned something from it. If you did, why not subscribe, tell your friends, share it with everyone. If not, send in a replay and provide some feedback in the comment section. This is PappyoDaniel saying cheers. Thank you all for watching. Hope to see you all tomorrow for another exciting episode. Cheers.